Laura Martinez stared at her computer screen, trying to make sense of the readings. The signal had appeared 3 days ago, and it wasn't like anything she had seen before in her 10 years at NASA. It was too regular, too precise to be natural. As she adjusted her glasses, a notification popped up on her screen. Another signal, this time stronger. "Hey, come look at this," she called out to her teammate across the lab. The message was clear now. First contact protocol initiated. The alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a quiet Tuesday morning. It wasn't huge or threatening, just a sleek, silver vessel about the size of a passenger plane. Laura watched from NASA's main control room as the first images came in. Her heart raced as she realized everything humanity knew was about to change. "Dr. Martinez, they're requesting to speak with our scientists," her supervisor said, his voice shaking slightly. "You're our lead xenobiologist. Are you ready?" Laura nodded, though she didn't feel ready at all. How could anyone be ready for this? She smoothed down her lab coat and followed him to the conference room, where a large screen had been set up. The alien who appeared on the screen looked almost like a tall, thin human with pale blue skin. It had large, dark eyes and long fingers. "Greetings," it said in perfect English, making Laura jump slightly. "I am Zixtal of the Ventari species, representative of the Galactic Council." Laura stepped forward. "Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Martinez of Earth. We're honored to meet you." Zixtal's eyes widened as it looked at some device in its hand. "Fascinating. You're standing in 1 gravity and breathing 21% oxygen." Its voice held a note of concern that Laura didn't understand. "Yes, those are Earth's normal conditions," Laura replied. "Is something wrong?" The alien tapped rapidly on its device. "Wrong? No, just unexpected. We'll need to do a full planetary survey. Would you be willing to serve as our liaison? We need to classify Earth properly before we can proceed with formal introductions." Over the next few days, Laura worked closely with the alien scientists who had come down in specially designed environmental suits. They seemed nervous, constantly checking their equipment and muttering to themselves. "You're insects," one of them said, watching a bee buzz past. "They fly in this gravity." "Of course," Laura answered. "Why wouldn't they?" The alien just shook its head and made more notes. Things got stranger when they tested Earth's water. "You drink this?" Zixtal asked, holding up a glass of tap water. "With all these minerals, and you survive?" "Well, yes," Laura said. "We need those minerals." Each new discovery seemed to disturb the aliens more. They tested the soil, the air, the plants, and even some small animals. Their reactions ranged from surprise to what looked like fear. One morning, Laura found Zixtal staring at a squirrel climbing a tree. "That small creature," it said. "It just moves up against gravity, like it's nothing." "And your children do this too?" "You mean climbing?" "Yes, many Earth creatures climb. Kids love it," Laura explained. She was starting to worry about how surprised they were by everything. The final straw came during a thunderstorm. While the human scientists worked normally, their alien visitors huddled in their protective suits, watching in horror as lightning split the sky. "You live like this?" Zixtal asked, "with electrical discharges just happening, and acid falling from the sky?" "It's just rain," Laura said. "It's mostly water. It's good for the plants." Zixtal's face showed an expression Laura couldn't read. "Dr. Martinez, I need to contact the council immediately. This is unprecedented. Your world, it's not what we expected. Not at all." As Laura watched the alien hurry away, she couldn't shake the feeling that Earth's introduction to the galaxy wasn't going quite as planned. She had no idea that this was just the beginning, and that humanity's normal was about to turn the galactic community upside down. She looked out the window at the rain, wondering what it was about Earth that had the aliens so worked up. Whatever it was, she had a feeling she was about to find out. and it would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. Daniel Wright was having a strange day. As an atmospheric scientist, he was used to studying air compositions, but he had never had to explain to aliens why humans could breathe what they called toxic levels of oxygen. He sat in the NASA lab with Laura Martinez, watching their visitors run test after test on Earth's air samples. "This can't be right," one of the alien scientists muttered, adjusting their equipment for the 5th time. "The readings must be wrong." Laura leaned over to Daniel. "They've been doing this all week. Everything about Earth seems to shock them." The initial classification of Earth had started at Class 5, which seemed to please the aliens, but then they started taking more measurements. Each new reading made them more nervous, and the classification kept changing. Class 6, they said after testing the gravity. Class 7, they added after analyzing the atmospheric pressure. Class 8. This came after they studied Earth's temperature ranges. Now, 2 weeks into their study, Daniel watched as another group of alien scientists arrived in even heavier protective suits than before. They looked like astronauts walking on a dangerous planet, not visitors to a populated world. "Your oceans," one of them said, looking at Daniel's computer screen. "They're full of salt and large predators, yet your people swim in them." "For fun." Daniel nodded. "Some people even surf, ride the waves for sport." The alien made a sound that might have been a gasp, intentionally entering turbulent water formations. "For entertainment." Class 9. Another alien whispered, making notes. Laura brought in some data about Earth's volcanic activity and tectonic plate movement. The aliens' reaction was immediate and dramatic. Several of them backed away from the screen showing the ring of fire. "You have chains of active magma vents across your planet," Zixtal asked, its voice higher than usual. "And you build cities near them." "Well, yes," Laura explained. "We have warning systems and building codes to handle it." Class 10, one alien said. "Perhaps higher," another added quietly. Daniel pulled up more atmospheric data, showing the normal variations in weather patterns. "Here's how our climate systems work," he began, but stopped when he saw the aliens' reactions. "Your atmosphere regularly forms rotating columns of destruction," Zixtal asked, looking at footage of a tornado. "We call them tornadoes," Daniel said. "They're more common in some areas than others." The aliens huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. When they turned back, they looked worried. "We need to contact the council again," Zixtal announced. "This situation is unprecedented. Your world, it exceeds our classification system." As the aliens hurried out, Laura turned to Daniel. "What do you think that means?" Daniel shook his head. "I'm not sure, but I get the feeling we're about to find out why they're so scared of everything here." Later that day, they received a message that more council representatives were coming. This time, high-ranking officials. The news spread quickly through NASA, and soon Daniel and Laura were called into an emergency meeting. "They're saying something about Earth being beyond their normal classification system," their supervisor explained. "We need you two to prepare all your data. Show them everything. Weather patterns, atmospheric composition, geological activity, everything." Daniel spent the night organizing his data, trying to understand why normal Earth conditions seemed so terrifying to their galactic visitors. As he looked at his familiar charts and graphs, he began to see Earth through their eyes, a planet of constant movement and change, of powerful forces and extreme conditions. The next morning, as he watched more alien ships arrive in orbit, each bigger and more official-looking than the last, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that Earth's place in the galaxy was about to change forever. He just hoped it would be for the better. "Ready?" Laura asked, standing at his door with a stack of files. "Ready," he replied, gathering his data tablets. Whatever was coming, they would face it together, just like Earth had faced every other challenge. Head-on and unafraid. John Peters sat at the large conference table in the United Nations building. trying to keep his face calm. As UN Secretary of Space Affairs, he had dealt with many difficult situations, but nothing like this. Around him sat representatives from every major nation, all watching the massive screen where the Galactic Council was about to make their announcement. Laura Martinez and Daniel Wright stood near the back of the room, their research data ready. The past week had been crazy, with more alien ships arriving daily. Each one carried important-looking officials who seemed both scared and excited about Earth. The screen lit up, showing a panel of different alien species. In the center sat the Council High Speaker, a tall being with silvery skin who looked rather nervous. Representatives of Earth, the High Speaker began. We have completed our planetary assessment. The results are, well, they are extraordinary. The room went quiet. John leaned forward in his chair. In all our history of space exploration, we have never encountered a world like yours, the High Speaker continued. Our classification system for habitable planets normally runs from Class 1 to Class 10. Class 10 worlds were considered the most extreme environments where intelligent life could evolve. Laura and Daniel exchanged worried looks. Your world, the High Speaker paused, has forced us to create an entirely new classification. Earth is now designated as a Class 13 Deathworld. The room burst into confused whispers. John raised his hand. I'm sorry, but what exactly does that mean? Another council member, a being with 4 arms, stepped forward. It means your species has evolved in conditions we thought impossible for advanced life. Your gravity alone should make complex life forms impossible. Your oxygen levels would be toxic to most species. Your weather patterns include regular acid rain and electrical storms. And yet you thrive, added Zixtel, who now sat among the council members. Your children play in conditions that would kill most species instantly. Your people live near active volcanoes, swim in predator-filled waters, and survive temperature swings that would shatter most beings. The High Speaker nodded. Your muscles and bones developed under crushing gravity. Your lungs process what most species consider poison. Your bodies can repair radiation damage from your sun. You are, by our standards, practically invincible. John looked around the room. Some human representatives looked proud, others worried. Are you saying we're dangerous? Not intentionally, the High Speaker said quickly. But you are. Impressive. A human child could accidentally crush a full-grown adult of many species just by trying to hug them. Your sneeze could break bones. Even your pets are apex predators by galactic standards. Laura stepped forward. But what does this mean for Earth's relationship with the galactic community? The council members looked at each other. It means, the High Speaker said, that you are unique, valuable, and yes, somewhat frightening. Some council members want Earth quarantined. Others see incredible potential in your species' abilities. Your people could survive conditions that would kill most species instantly, Zixtal added. You could become the greatest rescue workers, explorers, and emergency responders in the galaxy. But first, we must help other species understand that your strength doesn't make you a threat. John stood up. Earth has always valued peace and cooperation. We want to be part of the galactic community, not feared by it. The High Speaker nodded slowly. Then we have much work to do. Your world has changed everything we thought we knew about life in the galaxy. The question now is, how do we move forward? As the meeting continued, Laura looked out the window at the normal Earth day outside. Clouds, birds, a slight breeze. Everything that had seemed so ordinary yesterday now looked different. Their normal was the galaxy's impossible. Their home was a death world. And somehow, they would have to find their place in a universe that wasn't ready for them. The revelation of Earth's true nature wasn't the end of the story. In many ways, it was just the beginning. Maria Sullivan walked through the halls of the newly built Galactic Embassy in Geneva, her footsteps echoing on the marble floor. As Earth's chief diplomatic representative, she had spent the last 2 weeks trying to calm various alien species who were convinced humans would accidentally destroy the galaxy. I assure you, she said to the small green alien floating in a protective bubble beside her. Humans are very careful when we interact with other species. We understand our strength now. The alien, Ambassador Kree from the Xylaxian Empire, bobbed nervously in its bubble. But your people let their young run free. What if one of them bumps into a diplomatic party? Maria held back a sigh. This was her fourth such conversation today. We've already set up special reinforced areas for all diplomatic meetings. No running children allowed. They entered the main conference room, where representatives from 30 different species sat, each in their own environmental bubbles or protective suits. The room looked more like a space station than a meeting hall. The Council will now hear proposals regarding Earth's integration into the galactic community, announced the meeting chairperson, a tall being made mostly of light. A red-skinned ambassador stood up. My people demand Earth be quarantined. They live on a planet that regularly tries to kill them, and they think it's normal. Now wait just a minute, Maria said, stepping forward. Earth has been our home for thousands of years. We've learned to live with its conditions and respect its power. That's exactly what scares us. Another ambassador cut in. Your species considers Category 5 storms a minor inconvenience. You build cities on fault lines. Maria pulled up a holographic display. Let me show you something. These are records of human rescue missions. Yes, we're strong by your standards, but we use that strength to help others. The display showed humans working in disaster zones, pulling survivors from earthquakes, diving into rough seas to save drowning victims, entering burning buildings to rescue those trapped inside. The room grew quiet as they watched. Even the most nervous aliens seemed interested. Your people willingly enter these danger zones? Asked a crystalline being near the back. We do, Maria replied. And now that we understand our unique abilities, think what we could do to help across the galaxy. Zixtal, who had become one of Earth's strongest supporters, spoke up. I have seen these humans teach their young to be gentle. They understand their strength and know how to control it. Perhaps instead of fear, we should consider the possibilities. A small debate broke out among the representatives. Some still wanted Earth isolated, but others began to see the potential benefits of having humans as allies. What about your military? Asked a worried-looking ambassador. Now that you know most species find your world deadly, what's to stop you from using that advantage? Maria smiled gently. Earth has already signed the Galactic Peace Accords. We're not interested in conquest. We want to be partners, not overlords. The meeting continued for hours. Maria answered questions about human biology, culture, and intentions. Slowly, very slowly, she could see some of the fear turning into curiosity. Perhaps, said the chairperson finally, we could begin with a limited integration program. Supervised human rescue teams, carefully controlled cultural exchanges, protected diplomatic zones. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As Maria left the meeting, she spotted Laura Martins waiting in the hall. How did it go? Laura asked. Baby steps, Maria replied. They're still scared, but now they're also interested. Some even seemed excited about the possibilities. She looked out at the garden where a group of alien scientists were carefully studying earth flowers through their protective suits. We'll get there. They just need time to understand that being strong doesn't make us dangerous. Laura nodded. And meanwhile, we keep showing them who we really are. Not Deathworlders, not monsters, just humans who want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Outside, the sun was setting over the Alps, painting the sky in colors that made even the alien visitors stop and stare in wonder. Perhaps, Maria thought, that was the key, helping them see the beauty in what they found frightening. Christopher Banks stood in his laboratory at the International Science Center, watching as his team compared Earth samples with those from other worlds. As Earth's leading researcher on interspecies biology, he had spent the last month making one surprising discovery after another. Look at this, he said to his alien colleague, Dr. Vrax, who floated in a protective sphere. Even our weakest materials are incredibly dense by galactic standards. Dr. Vrax moved closer to examine the simple wooden block on the table. On my world, this would be considered nearly indestructible. And you say your people build temporary shelters with it. We call them cabins, Christopher explained, sometimes just for weekend trips. The laboratory had become a place of constant amazement. Every day, they found new ways that Earth's normal defied galactic science. Christopher picked up his tablet and checked the latest results. Our latest tests show that human children have stronger bones than most species' load-bearing structures, he said. No wonder they were so worried about us. A group of alien scientists huddled around a screen showing human DNA. They had been studying it for weeks, trying to understand how humans could adapt to such extreme conditions. Your genetic code is fascinating, one of them said. Your bodies can repair radiation damage from your sun. You can break down nearly any organic matter for food. You can even drink water that would dissolve our organs. Christopher nodded. What seemed normal to humans was apparently miraculous to the rest of the galaxy. He walked over to another station, where they were testing human muscle tissue. The strength ratio is incredible, Dr. Vrax said, checking the numbers. A human child could accidentally break down walls that we use to contain dangerous creatures. The research team had also discovered why aliens found Earth so terrifying. They pulled up a comparison chart showing average planetary conditions across the galaxy. Most civilized worlds had gravity about half of Earth's. Their atmospheres were thinner, their weather patterns gentler. Even their plants were softer, their animals less aggressive. Earth, with its powerful storms, deep oceans, and complex food chain, was like a nightmare world to them. But that's what makes us perfect for rescue work, Christopher explained to a visiting council scientist. We can survive conditions that would kill other species instantly. They had already started testing new protective gear that would let humans help other species, special gloves that would prevent accidental crushing, suits that would let them work safely around more delicate beings. Your adaptability is remarkable, Dr. Vrax said. You can survive in temperatures that range from freezing to burning, all in one day. You can eat food that would poison most species. You can even heal from injuries that would be fatal to others. Christopher was writing his findings in a special report for the Galactic Council. Each new discovery showed that humans weren't just strong. They were incredibly resilient. Your young practice fighting for fun, an alien researcher said, watching a video of children playing tag. They deliberately chase each other, and they survive. It's not just survival, Christopher explained. We thrive on challenge. It's part of who we are. The day's biggest surprise came when they tested human reaction times. The aliens were shocked to find that humans could think and move faster than many species' emergency response systems. This changes everything we thought we knew about evolution, Dr. Vrax said. Your world should have been too harsh for intelligent life. Instead, it created something extraordinary. Christopher looked around his lab, at humans and aliens working together to understand each other. Maybe that was humanity's greatest strength, not their tough bodies or quick minds, but their ability to turn fear into friendship, to use their strength to help others. We're not just studying humans, he told his team. We're learning how different kinds of life can work together. And that might be the most important discovery of all. Lisa Howard stood at the command center of the newly formed Earth Defense Force, watching dozens of screens showing both human and alien ships in orbit. As commander of Earth's space defense program, she had to make sure Earth's strength didn't scare their new allies while still protecting their world. Another request from the Zentari fleet, Commander, her assistant said. They want to know if we're really sending unarmed ships on patrol. Lisa smiled. Tell them yes, our ships don't need weapons. They're built to Earth standards. That makes them stronger than most battle cruisers out there. The past 2 months had taught them a lot about galactic military standards. What humans considered normal safety features were like fortress walls to other species. Even their civilian ships could survive conditions that would tear alien military vessels apart. A group of alien military advisors waited in the conference room. They jumped slightly when Lisa opened the door, still not used to how quickly humans moved. "Let's talk about joint defense training," Lisa said, keeping her voice gentle. She had learned to speak softly after seeing how her normal voice made some species' environmental suits vibrate. "Your soldiers train in actual gravity?" one advisor asked, looking at footage of the Earth Defense Force exercises. "Without support systems." "That's right," Lisa replied. "Every human soldier can run, jump, and fight while carrying their own weight. It's basic training for us." The aliens watched in silence as the video showed humans practicing rescue operations. Soldiers lifted heavy equipment, climbed walls, and swam through rough waters, all things that seemed impossible to their new allies. "But how do we work together?" another advisor asked. "Your people could accidentally destroy our equipment just by touching it." Lisa brought up the blueprints for their new joint operation centers. "We've designed special interfaces. Humans will handle the heavy work, while your people provide technical support and strategic planning." The aliens seemed relieved to see the safety features built into everything. Special padding, reinforced materials, and separate environmental systems for each species. "What about space combat?" a third advisor wondered. "Your ships would have to be so careful around ours." "Actually," Lisa said, "we found a better solution." She showed them the new rescue fleet designs. "We're turning our strongest ships into emergency response vessels. When other ships get into trouble, we can help them without breaking them." The meeting went on for hours, but Lisa could see attitudes changing. The aliens started asking different questions, not about how dangerous humans were, but about how they could work together. "Your strength could save lives," one advisor admitted. "We lost 3 ships last year to solar storms that your vessels could easily survive." Lisa nodded. "That's what we want to focus on. Not fighting, but helping." Though, she added with a small smile, the fact that nobody wants to pick a fight with a Deathworld species does make keeping peace easier. After the meeting, Lisa walked to the observation deck. Below, human and alien construction teams worked together, building Earth's first joint species spaceport. The aliens worked from inside their protective bubbles, handling delicate electronics, while humans did the heavy lifting. "Commander," her assistant called. "The Galactic Council wants to know if we'll join their emergency response network. They say our ships could reach disaster areas faster than anyone else." "Tell them yes," Lisa said. "That's what we're here for." She watched a human construction worker gently help an alien engineer adjust their equipment. The worker's massive strength, scary to so many species, was being used with incredible care. That was humanity's real power, Lisa thought. Not that they were strong, but that they could be both strong and gentle, both tough and kind, both scary and helpful. Maybe that's why Earth had evolved as it did, not to conquer the galaxy, but to help protect it. Laura Martinez stood at the window of the Galactic Council's main chamber, looking out at the stars. 1 year had passed since the day Earth was classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. So much had changed since then, yet in many ways, everything was exactly as it should be. "Dr. Martinez," a soft voice called. She turned to see Zixtal approaching, no longer wearing the heavy protective suit from their first meeting. The aliens had developed new, lighter safety gear that let them move more freely around humans. "The Council is ready for your report," Zixtal said. "They're eager to hear about the joint expedition." Laura nodded and walked to the center of the chamber. Around her sat representatives from hundreds of worlds, all watching with interest rather than fear. She activated her presentation display, showing images from humanity's first joint scientific mission with alien species. 6 months ago, she began, a team of human and alien scientists traveled to the volcanic world of Nexus 6. What we found there changed everything. The images showed human researchers walking safely through conditions that would kill most species. They collected samples from active lava flows, descended into poison gas vents, and crossed fields of razor-sharp crystal formations. Thanks to our natural adaptations, Laura continued, "We were able to gather data that no one has ever collected before. But more importantly, we helped our alien colleagues study these extreme environments safely. The display showed humans setting up protective shelters, carrying heavy equipment, and acting as living shields for their more fragile teammates. In the past year, human rescue teams have saved over 3,000 lives in situations where no other species could have survived. Our ships have reached disaster areas that were thought to be too dangerous to approach." She changed the display to show the new joint training centers on Earth. "We've learned to be careful with our strength, and our friends have learned not to fear it. Together, we're discovering new ways to explore and protect our galaxy." The chamber erupted in approving sounds from various species. Even the most cautious council members had to admit that Earth's integration into the galactic community had brought more benefits than problems. "But perhaps our greatest achievement," Laura said, "has been learning from each other. Our alien friends have taught us so much about diplomacy, technology, and the delicate balance of life. In return, we've shown them that strength doesn't have to be frightening." She brought up the final images. Children from various species playing together in specially designed parks, human doctors working with alien medical teams, and Earth's first graduation class of multi-species emergency responders. "1 year ago, Earth was called a death world," Laura said. "Today, we prefer to think of it as a life world, a place where evolution's challenges created beings capable of helping others, where the very things that made us scary now let us save lives." After her presentation, Laura walked through the council's garden with Zixtal. Various earth plants now grew there, carefully contained but beautiful. "Did you ever imagine it would work out like this?" Zixtal asked. "When we first met, and I was so terrified of your world." Laura smiled. "Honestly, no, but I'm glad it did. We found our place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or monsters, but as protectors." A group of alien scientists waved to them from a nearby bench. They were studying an earth butterfly that had somehow gotten into the garden, watching in wonder as it flew against the station's lighter gravity. "The galaxy was so vast and empty before we met you," Zixtal said. "Now it feels fuller, safer somehow, like having a strong friend watching over you." Laura watched the butterfly land on a flower from another world. That's what Earth has always been. A challenging world that taught us to be tough, but also taught us to care for one another. Now we can do that on a galactic scale. The stars shone brightly outside, each one holding new worlds to explore, new people to meet, and new ways to use their strength to help others. Earth's story as a death world had become something greater, a story of how the most unexpected differences could become the greatest gifts.